There are mornings that feel like a quiet promise. Sunlight sliding across the kitchen tile, coffee steam rising, and the steady weight of a dog pressed against your ankle like an old, loyal punctuation. You move through your routines together. The leash, the slow neighborhood walk, the small rituals of touch, and the world seems held in the gentle grammar of companionship. In those hours you trust the rhythm. His tail sweeping a familiar cadence, his gaze soft, his breathing even. You think you know him, but trust has its own blind spots. In the soft corners of daily life, habits start to gather meaning. A yawn that stretches longer than the last, a paw that lingers on your knee when the TV is about voices, a chew that looks like play but happens when you reach for your keys. You might smile and call it quirks. You might say he's just being him. Yet there is a small, persistent voice, a professional curiosity in the back of your mind, or the tenderness of a parent, that asks whether these little things are only habits or signals begging for attention. Imagine a scene. You at the window watching rain make the street glassy. He circles 3 times before lying, then sits up at the sound of a distant door. You say his name, he wagged, then froze. The pause is barely a second, but you feel it like a dropped stitch. In another room, late at night, the echo of a sigh that isn't yours, a shadow moving at the edge of the couch. Small behaviors mounting into a quiet architecture of unease. There is nothing dramatic here, no frantic barking, no wrecked cushions. Just the subtle architecture of a mind that might be telling you something urgent in the only ways it knows. This is not a tale of blame but of awakening. What follows is an invitation to read those private languages. 7 signs that hide in plain sight, masquerading as normal, each one a whispered SOS if you learn to listen. If you've ever paused and wondered about a quirk that won't go away, tell me, what is your biggest worry with your dog? Stay with me. We'll turn those small signals into clear answers. Morning light slips along the kitchen tiles and finds the two of you where you always are. Coffee steaming, newspaper folded, and a warm weight at your feet. Milo lifts his head, yawns. A slow, theatrical yawn, and settles again. You smile and call it contentment, because that is the story you have told yourself for years. But then, during the walk, he tugs at the leash with small, sudden pulls toward the same lamppost, then looks back at you with a gaze that lingers too long, as if asking permission for something he cannot name. You pause. The day's calm has a new texture, a thread frayed at the edges. Small habits begin to stitch themselves into pattern. The chew toy that's preferred at 2 in the afternoon when nothing is happening. The way he circles 3 times before lying down. The extra slobbery kisses at the door when the mail arrives. At dinner you watch him from across the table and sense urgency in ordinary motions. A neighbor waves and says, "He looks happy," and you want to nod, but you have started keeping a quiet ledger in your mind. Times, places, sounds that trigger a glance, a pause, a tremor behind the ears. Inside the house the atmosphere shifts too. Rain against the window rattles more than glass. It rattles his breathing. At night he pads from room to room, then returns to your bed and presses himself against your hip, heavier than usual, as if trying to anchor himself to you. You lift a hand and feel rapid, nervous panting. Your chest tightens with a question you can't yet name. Is this comfort or a plea? You find yourself whispering to him, "It's okay," because words are all you have that feel like a bridge. You pull out your phone and watch the recordings. The yawning at noon, the frantic sniffing at the doorstep, the sudden freeze by the stroller. Each clip, when threaded together, reads less like charming quirks and more like Morse code, signals sent from a mind active in ways you haven't learned to read. Your certainty that everything is fine begins to wobble, and that wobble wakes a responsibility you cannot ignore. If what you're seeing here stirs something in you, give a quiet, just a little sign that you're watching. Tell me in the comments, what is the biggest worry you have with your dog? Stay with me. Next I'll show you the 7 signs that look harmless but are actually urgent calls for help, so we can name what Milo is trying to say. Morning light pours through the blinds and paints your kitchen table in soft lines. Your dog pads in like he always does, tail low, eyes gentle, and you tell yourself the little things are nothing. Another yawn, another tug at your sleeve when you reach for the coffee. He's just being affectionate. Your voice reassures itself. But the yawns come again, deeper this time, and there is a stiffness to his shoulders you didn't notice before. You find yourself watching the doorway more than usual, waiting for him to decide where to sit, as if each choice is a question you both already know the answer to. Outside, the neighbor's kids play, and his bark is quick, then apologetic, as if startled by his own sound. You laugh, telling the boy he's nervous around strangers, and the boy runs off with a shrug. At night, he circles the bed slower than before, pressing his flank against your leg with a new urgency that feels like a small plea. You lie awake cataloging his quirks the way one counts constellations. Harmless dots that, when connected, draw a different sky. You take him to the park and watch him pace the fence, eyes scanning like someone trying to read a map in a language they half know. At the vet, the nurse says, "Sometimes dogs chew when they're bored." And you nod, grateful for an easy explanation. Yet the chewing is not the careless gnaw of a puppy. It's precise, focused, a ritual repeated at the same time every afternoon. Your partner touches his head and asks, "Do you think he's okay?" And the question hangs between you like a weight you both pretend not to share. There are small betrayals of peace. A sudden clinginess that interrupts a favorite book, a long lick at nothing that leaves his muzzle damp, a stare that waits for you to answer even when you have nothing to say. Each incident alone seems trivial. Together they begin to hum like a distant machine warming up. You start to notice how your own breath mirrors his, quickening when he does, slowing when he settles. You find yourself searching for meaning in routine actions and wonder whether kindness begins with better attention. If any of this sounds familiar, leave a note below with your biggest worry about your dog. In the next part, the quiet patterns you'll start recognizing make sense, and each one will reveal what your dog has been trying to tell you all along. Subscribe if you want to learn how to answer those pleas calmly and wisely. The kitchen is washed in pale morning light, the coffee steam mingling with the soft exhale of a dog who has been at your side for years. He yawns again, a long, slow release that once seemed merely cute. Now you know there is more in that yawn than tiredness. In the living room, a trainer sits across from you, legs folded on the rug, watching the small, repeated motions. A lip lick, a glance away, the way his paw trembles when you reach for your keys. "These are sentences," she says quietly, "not of language we speak, but of feelings he can't put into words." You ask, voice low and a little ashamed, "Have I missed what he was trying to tell me?" She shakes her head. "We missed it together. That isn't failure. It's an opportunity to learn a new way of listening." What follows is not a list of quick fixes but a slow reframing of how you live with him. Mornings become rituals of predictability. A measured leash click, a calm walk where you reward the pause between stimuli, not the reaction. The trainer demonstrates counter-conditioning at the front door, soft treats offered before the bell, until the bell becomes the beginning of something good rather than an alarm. At home, the crate is reintroduced as a den, not a punishment, draped with a familiar blanket and a comforting scent. You watch as his body relaxes into that small, safe geometry. Trust is rebuilt in inches. There are exercises that feel almost like prayers. Breathing with him when thunder rolls, trading frantic chewing for puzzle toys that demand thought, practicing short absences and returning without fanfare so separation becomes a slow, teachable tolerance. The philosophy that guides each step is simple and stubborn. Meet anxiety with structure, empathy, and predictable kindness. You are not correcting a flaw. You are reshaping the rhythm of his days so panic has fewer places to live. If this resonates, give the video a gentle like. It helps others find this quiet way of listening. Tell me in the comments, what is the biggest doubt or problem you have with your dog? Subscribe if you want to see these techniques demonstrated in real homes. In the next segment, we'll step into one living room and practice the first gentle exercise together, watching a dog learn to be still without fear. You kneel on the kitchen floor as morning light slips through the blinds, and he leans into your palm the way he has every day for years. That familiar weight becomes a lesson. Dogs speak in small motions, and our job is to learn their grammar. Start by watching, not judging. Note the moments before the yawns, the seconds that precede the clinginess. Write them down. Time, place, who was there, what sounded different. Patterns are the map out of anxiety. Create safety where you can control it. A quiet corner with a bed that smells like you. A low shelf for toys. A predictable routine that anchors him. Meals, walks, rest. Use enrichment to redirect the anxious mind. Scent games, puzzle feeders, short training sessions that end on success. Teach one cue at a time. Settle, place, look. Reward the breath between panics with calm treats and soft praise. Reward calm more than you punish worry. Counterconditioning and desensitization are slow alchemy. Expose him to a trigger at a level he can handle. Pair it with something he loves, and only move forward when he shows comfort. Small steps win where big pushes break trust. Your energy matters. Speak softly, breathe evenly, and let your rhythm lead his. If he whines, resist the urge to rush in and soothe every time. Instead, wait for a quiet moment to reinforce. When you do comfort, do it with calm, not alarm. Manage the environment, reduce startling noises, provide predictable exits, consult your vet to rule out pain and medical causes. If the anxiety is deep, a certified behaviorist can build a bespoke plan that blends training, management, and, when appropriate, medication. Imagine the work like learning a language together. Sometimes awkward, always patient, often beautiful. Little victories accumulate. A nap uninterrupted. A leash that no longer tightens the moment the door opens. If this resonated, tap the like button gently. It helps others find this calm. Tell me in the comments, what is your biggest doubt or problem with your dog? And if you want more practical steps, subscribe for the rest of this journey. Next, we'll weave these principles into a simple daily blueprint you can start tonight to rebuild trust and quiet the alarms. You sit with your dog in the quiet after the storm of discovery, and the house feels different. Not because anything changed in its walls, but because you have learned to listen to the language inside them. The yawns that once read as laziness now sound like a slow warning. The clinginess that felt like affection is a plea for safety. This is the soft, difficult truth. What we call quirks are often words in a voice we never learned to understand. In the days that follow, you watch small rituals unfold with new eyes. A paw pressed against your leg becomes a semaphore. An insistence to chew becomes an attempt to soothe an anxious tide. The world between you and your dog makes more sense, and with sense comes responsibility, calm, deliberate, humane action. Remember the 7 signs we traced together. The subtle shifts in posture, the muffled sounds, the repeated behaviors that mask urgent need. They are not accusations but invitations, to slow down, to offer sanctuary, to change the rhythm of your life in ways that matter. You will not fix everything overnight. Healing is a daily practice. Predictable routines, patient redirection, gentle training, and the courage to say no to convenience when comfort for your dog depends on it. Each small change you make is an argument for trust. Each moment you respond instead of dismissing is a town built of bridges between 2 hearts. There will be setbacks. There will be days the old habits flare and you feel powerless. Let those days teach you humility rather than defeat. Sit with your dog, breathe the same air, and remember that compassion is not a single heroic act but 1,000 quiet attunements. If this resonated, a gentle like helps these ideas reach another person who might be ignoring a plea. Commenta aqui qual a maior dúvida ou problema que você tem com seu cachorro. If you want to go deeper, subscribe and walk with me through practical exercises that turn understanding into habit. The next video will show how to build a safe routine that calms the anxious mind. Until then, listen closely. Your dog has been speaking all along.